Howdy guys, Patriot coming to you from the desktop with a really anticipated video. This is kind of a redo for me. I just can't seem to get this one right. From the beam shots to even the desktop, it's just not what I was looking for. So we're going to try it one more time here. So you can see I've got the TK75 box in front of me. You can see on the box, I like to just kind of show you what the label looks like. 2600 lumens. Here's some short specs back here. 2600 lumens, 606 meters throw, 1 meter impact resistance, runtime up to 200 hours on low intensity, 92,000 candela, and it's 2 meters waterproof, or IPX8. You can see really nice packaging. They give you a little bit of the rundown back here. I wasn't going to try to cover output levels right now, but if you want to pause that and look at those, you're welcome to do it. You can see it comes in a nice plastic box. The light's already out. This really isn't an unboxing, but I like that they do this. I think that they've done this ever since the TK40, if I remember correctly. They've got the clear polycarbonate shell here with everything inside, the instructions, the lanyard, and all that sort of thing. So anyhow, mine's already been out of the box, so let's go ahead and put this thing on the desktop here for you. There she is. Let's go ahead and zoom in on this a little bit for you so that you can get a nice look at it. Hopefully that background will work for this video. Usually I put a green or a blue sheet back there, but here it is, 7.5 inches long, 18 ounces empty. I've got 4 18650 batteries in there right now. You can see there's no tail switch on the back or anything. 2 buttons, power button and a mode button, and a beautiful front end on this flashlight. Big triple XML reflectors that are deep and produces a very nice beam. You can see that it actually is a very smooth reflector. There's a little bit of rippling down along the inside, which is quite common with reflectors, but overall you can see it's real glassy smooth. They make good use. You can see that they take the diameter of each reflector right out to the edge, so they're making the very most use of this space as they can. Obviously these little sections here are dead space on a design like this, but you can see about 80%, perhaps even a bit more, of the front of the light is being utilized or used as a reflective surface. If a manufacturer wanted to, I suppose that they could actually mill out and make the head smaller in these areas here and just make everything a little bit more trim. The reason that they don't do that on a light like this, besides cost, is that we need the mass of the head up here to cool the light down. I'll be talking about some temperature specifications that I hit with this light, and it needs every bit of metal mass that it can get up here in the front end when this thing's running on high. Now traditionally Fenix has gone with an all aluminum front end. They've run the black Type 3 aluminum anodizing all the way up to the end. In this case they've actually put a stainless steel crown or a bezel around the top. I really like this. Some of the traditional Fenix guys might prefer the all black light, but when it comes to utility and protection on the front of the light, I think this makes a lot of sense. I really like a stainless bezel because it's often the case that when you drop a light, it's pointed in a down direction or it's the first thing to hit. And so having the stainless steel bezel up there, you're still gonna nick it, you're still gonna damage it, but that's versus crushing it and denting it in, just because the steel is so much tougher than the aluminum. So I like it, and I think it gives kind of a look of class. You can see that it's not polished or anything. They kind of kept a nice matte stainless finish on there, kind of a satin or a glass bead effect on the stainless steel. Here you can see some of the badging on the light, Fenix TK75 with a serial number, and you can see that they've gone with a rectangle style block type knurling. Each one of these blocks has a little micro texture on it as well, so there's no trouble holding on to this light when it's wet. You've got plenty of traction, whether it's a naked hand or a gloved hand. Large back end to it. You can see there's a little bit of a crown or a flare here at the tail end, which kind of looks nice. versus going straight out the back. Got plenty of attachments here for lanyard. The crown helps to keep it secure in your hand if it's going to slip out. That increasing diameter back here does help you to retain it. You can see the couple switches there, power and a mode. You can see up here that they've got a little hot warning on there, some more of the badging. It's kind of cool because it steps down through the vents here. It's actually kind of a three-dimensional effect. Just a small thing to note there. And actually this really holds true when this light is on turbo. In fact, I hit 151 degrees at this location right here with the infrared thermometer, and that was after 20 minutes of runtime. After that, after 20 minutes on high, it automatically steps down. Now you can either shut off the light and re-hit turbo if you want. However, at 151 degrees, that's the top end of where I would typically use a light like this. Much hotter than that, you know, the cells are absorbing all of that heat as well. And so just as a service to the cells and a reason to prolong their lifespan, I don't like to get the things that hot. So, you know, when I took that temperature reading, this light was just sitting with no airflow on the desk. When you actually hold a light in hand, the heat is transferred from the light itself and carried away by your bloodstream. So it's transferred into your hand, and it helps pull heat off of the light. Also, when you're moving with the light or walking with the light, the air is, you know, flowing over the light, so it helps to keep it cool too. So sitting in a stagnant air environment on a desktop with the light on high is sort of the worst case scenario. About the only thing you could do worse is cover it with a pillow or a blanket or something like that. That would increase the heat even more. As the name implies, the TK75 is from the TK series. Fenix started their large format, I'll call it, that's my own term, large format lights back in, I think it was 2009 with the TK40. In fact, I've got one up on screen here for you, and it brings back warm memories because I used to have one. I believe at least mine had a Cree MCE LED with quad architecture. This ran on 8 or 4 AA batteries. And gosh, now that I think about it, maybe the first version was a P7 LED, but I can't remember. The one I had was an MCE. In any case, it was 630 lumens, which was a heck of a nice light back then. Also, we didn't have many lights that used AA batteries, so the fact that this could use alkaline AA batteries or nickel metal hydride batteries was a real boost. Had a good size reflector, had a lot of throw, had a nice beam, and that was kind of what kicked everything off. Fast forward a little bit here and we get to the TK70. This was Fenix's first triple XML light. This thing is a monster. It's a baseball bat. It's a plunger. It's huge. It's 16 inches long from the front of the head to the tail cap. Huge head, huge reflector, is even larger than the TK75. 2200 lumens, ran on 4D nickel metal hydride batteries. And you know, the light is loved by a lot of people. It's just not loved by me. And the reason why is the size. I just don't think it's practical. If I back up here a little bit, there's I think there's a guy back here at Candle Power Forums. He's joking around using one as a plunger, you can see. That's perfect. This is somebody on Candle Power Forums. In any case, yes, the light's gigantic. It's huge. It makes the SR90 back here at 13 inches long look like a pipsqueak. Obviously the head size is similar, but the overall length. The SR90 is tolerable for me. At 3.71 pounds, it was not terribly heavy. It was lighter than the Polarian lights, and it gave me multi-mode capability. It had a high and a low, and so as a searchlight, I think this did a pretty good job. And at 13 inches long, it was a little bit more practical. You know, a 4D mag light, I think all the flashlight fans here remember those. What it's like to carry one around. The TK75 or the TK70 that I showed you was even longer because the head is long, so it was more like a 5D mag light. You know, the thing's a beast, and it uses nickel metal hydride batteries. You take those out, you have to line those up one at a time on a charger, on a D-size charger. So you've got a lot of energy potential there with those batteries. Some people will argue that it's safer than 18650 format, and you know, technically they're right, but I'll tell you, I've never had a problem with an 18650 lithium-ion formula battery either. Now the reason that I wanted to kind of touch on that is on a little history there with the lights, is we're going to be talking about that a little bit later on when it comes to the type of use that we're going to enjoy with this flashlight. Let's go ahead and open this up since we're talking about cells right now. Real good threads on that light. I did have to clean them up a little bit. They seem to have a little bit of sand or grit right out of the box, but all I did, and let me show you, a lot of people always ask me what I'm using. Alright, I had to go get this stuff. All you do is take a coarse rag to the ends of the threads here, clean them up, clean inside the tail cap, and then I apply a little bit of this Nio gel. A lot of people ask me where to get this stuff. It's a 50-gram bottle. You can see the size there. I think I've had this for 2 or 3 years now, so it lasts a long time. I believe it's a silicone-based product, but honestly, I don't know that much about it. All I know is that it works really great for flashlight threads, and I've been using it for a long time. The guys at Candle Power Forums put me onto it. You can see from the threads here that they do not appear to be square threads. I believe that they're triangle shaped threads, but they're very smooth and they work great. It's got a single O-ring on the back. Here is the battery carrier. In this one I've got some Ready Last 3100 milliamp hour cells. I really like these. I actually prefer them over the AW cells. They seem to be a bit tougher. The ends seem to be very dent or crush resistant. The last set of AW batteries that I had, even with light spring pressure, they're all pushed in on the outside. I was pretty disappointed, so I've been happy with the Ready Last and any of the Panasonic type cells. But you can see how those clip in there. People will recognize this contact system here going all the way back to the TK40. I think mine had 3 on there. Is that right? Yeah, I forgot. Anyhow, it's perhaps a little bit of a delicate or exposed contact system. I prefer if it was like this style, or if I open up the Night Eye 30 here, you can see kind of the difference in size there between the two lights. We'll get to that a little bit later on. But I actually prefer this style carrier a little bit better. It doesn't have any exposed contacts or anything on it that are going to catch on anything or catch on a rag or something like that. I wanted to show you, see the ends of these batteries? This is no abuse. This is not dropping the flashlight or dropping a carrier or anything like that. This is just use over time, and the ends have flattened out. Haven't had that issue with a Ready Last, so I'm kind of a Ready Last and Panasonic guy now. But there's the style of battery carrier, and this one will go in either way. It doesn't matter. There's no polarity on this one. So real easy system. So I tend to like batteries, carriers that don't have a lot of things sticking off of them, but as long as you take care of this, it shouldn't be a problem. Now when you do put this inside the light and tighten down the tail cap, all of these are going to compress to the point of the top of the carrier right here. So they've kind of got in an over compression, a built-in over compression. Most of the force is going to land upon this spring right here, but then partial compression is going to be on these. So they are flexing a little bit every time you use it. However, it doesn't really seem to be a problem. In fact, some of the best durability testing, some of the most interesting testing that I've ever seen has been on Fenix flashlights, TK11s and TK10s and TK40s over time. I think one guy put one on the back of his truck and towed it around and it was kind of the end of the destruction testing, but I think he ended up losing it. That's going back away in Candle Power Forum memory there, but as you can see, oh, I didn't show you the inside of the light. Let's show you that really quick. You can just see it's got a standard contact ring, not unlike the back of this one here. Overall, the carrier seems to be well built. I've seen better built carriers, but I think Fenix has a track record of making a reliable, tough carrier. I actually like the clear polycarbonate style that they used on the TK40. but the white one's pretty cool too. Now this light will run off of two 18650 batteries. I don't think it specifically tells you that in the instructions, but I kind of ended up figuring it out. Alright, for the electrical guys or the Candle Power Forums guys out there, this is a 2 series 2 parallel carrier. And you can see on the outside it's got these 4 pillars on the battery carrier. You can see some have a large, wide kind of triangle shape to them, and some have this narrower kind of offset triangle right here. If you remove, as long as you have 2 batteries on each side of the wide triangle, here or here, the light will still operate. So let's go ahead and try that. I did notice that you kind of got to get your thumb in there. I don't have long fingernails, so it's a little bit hard sometimes to get the to get your thumb inside the little carrier there. Now it is notched out up at the top, you can see right here, but not super easy, but I guess now that I'm used to it I have no problem. Alright, so, oh, I just did the wrong thing, hold on. Okay, so you can see here I've got a battery on each side of the wide triangle, and we'll take this one out, and the light will still function this way. Alright, if I turn it on, you can see there, and I've got low, medium, high, and turbo even on 2 cells. Alright, this isn't something, I wouldn't run this thing on turbo on 2 normal lithium ion cells like that. On a couple of IMR cells it wouldn't be a problem, but on these cells I wouldn't run it on turbo. I'd run it on high but not on turbo. So it is handy that the light will run on 2 18650s. It's good to know. If you were ever in a pinch and you only had a couple, your light's still going to run. Another point about the battery carrier that I wanted to mention here, you can kind of see this is the instruction manual, and here it has a battery specification section. I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but the second one down here says non-rechargeable battery lithium CR123A. So we're talking about a standard surefire type battery right now. It says right here that it's banned. If you go over just a little bit, it says when absolutely necessary the flashlight can be powered by 4 or 8 CR123 batteries. In this case, the TK75 will run at low brightness level and the mode switch will be disabled. So they're telling you here that you can't use CR123s, then they tell you here that you can. So the way that I felt about that, that's something that I'm going to test, but I didn't have the latitude to throw CR123s in here and perhaps, you know, smoke the light or something like that. I needed to get the review done first. Later on I'll test it and I'll annotate it for you whether or not that works with both 4 and 8. But I will test it for you, so by the time this is done you'll know if my flashlight worked or it didn't work with those at that kind of voltage. So we're increasing the voltage there, and you know, I don't know if the driver can actually handle it, especially when they say that you can't use it, but then they say that you can use it. So wanted to get the review done here, and we'll test that last. Now, when it comes to triple XML LED flashlights, there's quite a few out there. There's only a handful that are really recognized by a lot of the CPFers to be of super high quality. The TM, or the Tiny Monster series by Nightcore, they came out with the TM11 a while back. I actually had one. It was a nice floody light. It wasn't really known for its throw, but it did produce a lot of lumens. Now they've got the TM15, which is a slightly longer, has deeper reflectors, and a little extra space in the flashlight for a charging circuit, so you can actually plug the light in and charge the 4 batteries inside. This, I don't have that latitude with this, but that's fine. I'm fine with taking those batteries out and charging it on the IntelliCharger 4 or some other 4-bay charger that makes it convenient. That's not a big issue with me. I'd rather keep the size small and not have any funky plugs or anything sticking out here on the outside of the light that make it weird. Now, if they can incorporate it in a really clean fashion like they have here on the Night Eye 30, this is another triple XML light that you saw in my previous video. You can see fairly deep reflectors, deeper than the TM11. It's a better thrower. I think the TM11 is around maybe 20,000 candela, and this was around 30 or 35,000 candela. and the TM15 is up around 40,000. So you can see, you know, the deeper that reflector is, if everything else is designed correctly, it's going to throw better. It's going to put more lumens focused downrange. You can see this one has a little 12-volt charging port in it right here. This is a 12-volt port. I know the new TM15 has an AC charger port that you can plug in there. I don't know if it can also be charged by DC. Anyhow, this is a real nice system. You can see each. I've never done a proper review on this light, but you can see this one has a charge indicator here, so it'll show you the remaining charge that you have in your light. Has a magnetic switch on it, not of tactical light, and the reason why is because it's not easy to go here and go through the modes with the ring. So the button on the TM series or Tiny Monster series is a lot easier to get to. Same with this one. Here, it's more of a tactical style light. This is more of a utility light, and boy, it's been a very good one. It's got a lot of lumens out the front, reasonable throw for a triple XML, has a removable handle here, which you can walk around and carry this thing. I carry it with 2 fingers typically for maybe an hour-long hike, and so it's super ergonomic. I like this little light. You can see it's pretty small overall. If we compare just the tube and head size there to the TK75. So going to they both use 4 18650 batteries. The difference is the size of the head on this light. This is done to take advantage of, to produce a throw light and intentionally produce a really great throwing triple XML. Now, the XML is a fairly large format LED as compared to an XRE or an XPG LED, and so the LED, the surface area of the LED is pretty large. I'm trying to remember what it is. I think it's a 2mm by 2mm squared die, so a pretty big size. When you use a larger LED, it's going to give you more lumens, so the capability to produce more light is there. However, because it's larger, it's not going to throw as far as a smaller LED of a given reflector size. Now, there's also another element in there called surface brightness. The more surface brightness of an LED or an arc or a filament, the more capability it has to throw. So the greater the surface brightness, more capability it has to throw. We'll just assume that all of these LEDs, which really isn't the case, but just generically speaking, we'll assume that they all have roughly about the same surface brightness in a good design. So the larger it is, the less throw it's going to have. Now, people often hear these little phrases thrown around: throw light. You know, what's a throw light? What's a floodlight? Is it just kind of a subjective term? In some ways, it kind of is. But to illustrate the overall concept, I'll show you something here that has a lot of lumens but hardly any throw. This is a Cfl light bulb. You can see we've got a ton of lumens. This will light up an entire room. Let's just say, for instance, let's call it 1500, 2000 lumens. We got a lot of light here, but the surface brightness itself is very low. So it's spread over a lot of surface area, and it doesn't have a lot of throw capability. Although this will light an entire room up, it's not going to light up hundreds of yards downrange. So on the opposite end of the spectrum, take a laser, for instance, that hardly has any lumens at all, but it has a virtually unlimited distance if it's powerful enough. So you can see super low lumens, incredible throw, versus the Cfl bulb here that is a ton of lumens, hardly any throw. So that's why you can have a flashlight that throws a long way and doesn't have a lot of lumens, and just to the contrary, you can have a light that produces a ton of lumens but doesn't necessarily have a lot of throw. So this one, for instance here, this is a 2000 lumen output light, but because of the reflector arrangement, it has reasonable throw. This one kind of falls in the middle. The Tiny Monster 11 has less throw. It's got about maybe half of the throw of this one. Maybe not quite that much, maybe about 2/3. But by changing the reflector size and the LED and the type of reflector, whether it's orange peel or frosted or a high polish reflector, all of that affects throw, along with the surface brightness of the emitter itself. I'll be including some footage here pretty soon, maybe at the end, maybe now, and I'll show you the difference between a really good throwing HID or an LED light like the SR90, or I'll even put this in that category now, as compared to an HID light. An HID light, because you know we talked about that surface brightness, the surface brightness of that arc in the arc chamber of this bulb is super intense. It's very small, incredibly bright, and so if we use a same reflector size or even one larger, it's why this light, this HID, can throw further than this huge reflector SR90, because of the overall lumens and the surface brightness of that arc. So just kind of a little rundown there, because it's kind of confusing for a lot of people, and it takes a little bit to get a grasp on, but hopefully there through that illustration that helps. Hey guys, Patriot with you. This is the 4th time out tonight. I'm on my 3rd different camera, jacking around with settings. I'm trying to get exactly what my eye is seeing, and I think I finally got it with my good old Samsung here. Anyhow, what you're looking at is a power line tower 200 yards away with a Night Eye 30. That's the triple XML. Probably we'll see it in the desktop. What you're looking at here is the TK75. Alright? TK75. Night Eye 30. TK75. Alright, TK75 on the right, Night Eye 30 on the left. You can see the beam intensity is a lot hotter on the TK75. Alright, so I think this is finally going to work. We finally got there.